Hey, hope everybody's having a really good day. I want to share with you a prophetic dream I had, and then I want to do some teaching on this. I'm just going to let you know up front, there's no telling how open and vulnerable and real I want to get on this. And so hopefully this will help you. It will also expose a lot of stuff that is in the church. If you are a minister, it will help you healing some things. And if you identify in this word that I'm sharing that you've done this to somebody, please go make it right. Okay, don't be a moron in the church. Don't be an idiot. Okay, there we go. Here we go. As I was flying back from South Carolina from the We Prophesy conference, I had three dreams on my first flight from Charleston, South Carolina to Dallas. And this was one of them. It was very short, it was very brief, but very profound. In this dream, I saw a minister. He was standing on a stage, but on both sides of him, there were like dots, like spots where somebody would stand on. And beautiful church, everything was really nice church, but there were, as the pastor or the apostle who was leading it was in the front, you had spots like dots where people would stand. There were some empty dots. And I noticed that a guy walked up, well groomed, well dressed, walked up, and you could tell that this gentleman was very gifted. And he walked up, and the pastor turned to him and said, "I'm so glad that you're part of our team because we needed somebody with your gift mix." And the gentleman spoke back to the pastor, the apostle that was leading. He said, "Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be here. I will serve you. I'm committed to you in the vision of the house." Oh, just let you know, that's so scary when people say that stuff. And then all of a sudden, this guy that had just walked up, it's like he turned into a lion, and he was like roaring, and everybody was applauding his roar. And the leader of the church was like, "Yes, thank God that this guy with this gift mix is here." And he filled a spot that we needed. That all of a sudden, the lion turned into a snake, and it was a python. But here's the interesting thing: the crowd was still applauding this guy, and this python came right to the pastor and stuck his face right in the pastor's face. He didn't strike him, didn't try to kill him. He just let the head person of the church know this right here: "I'm here, I got the applause of the people, and I'm not going anywhere." And of course, we know what the python spirit is, that it comes to suck the life out of you. Okay? And so here is the kingdom application. So weird. Over the past week, I talked to three younger people, and this was their so-called revelation that's ignorant. But we're going to be raw today, y'all, okay? They were telling me, like, I don't go to, I was talking to them like, "Hey, man, how's it going? How's life going? Where are you going to church?" "Oh, I don't go to church anymore. I don't go to church, but I'm available to the church." And they had like an arrogance about them. I said, "Oh, really?" One of them said, "I'm called to be a songwriter. God's called me to travel the nation and sing at conferences, conventions." I'm like, "Oh, cool, cool." And so he said, "Yes. And so if a church needs me, I will go out and minister for them. And then when I write my songs, I'm going to sell my songs, or I'm going to do this and that." I said, "Oh, okay. Oh, cool, cool. That's great." So you're not part of a local body. You're not part of a ministry. So you don't offer your gift anywhere to build anything. You only go where you're paid. People can only sing your songs when they pay. "Oh, I got it." And I was telling this young guy, out of love, I said, "See, marriage is a give and take. But there's another person that they exchange everything they have for money without covenant." I said, "And they're called a prostitute. And prostitutes have something to offer, but they're destroying their life." So I asked this young guy, "Since you're called to travel the nation and go all over America and use your gift for the church and conferences, how much have you gone out recently?" "Well, I really haven't." "How much did you go out before COVID?" "Well, I really haven't." Okay. You don't go to a church, you don't serve a church, you're not a part of a ministry, you've never served another man's vision or dream. You hear what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that see the spotlight, the platform of ministry. Let's go back to the dream. There's a lot of people that will come alongside a minister, and all they're after is his platform, his or her platform. They're not after covenant. I'm a covenant guy, 100% covenant. I remember one time I had somebody in our apostolic network. They said, hey, I'm about to do a video. Would you mind sharing my video? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll share your video. So they had a few people watching their video. I shared it, and within a minute, their video jumped 500%. In about 5-6 minutes, it jumped 1,000%. So the next day, they text me like, hey, I'm about to do another video. I said, okay. When they got done with their video, they messaged me and said, hey, why didn't you share my video? I said, I watched it. Well, why didn't you share it? I said, well, I didn't feel led to. I shared it yesterday. And they said, okay. The next day they left our apostolic network. See, they came on board for influence. They didn't come on board for covenant. Covenant's important. We have a covenant-keeping God. Marriage is a covenant. Over the past, I'm going to say 3-4 months, we've had about 3 people in our church that left. And they weren't our core group starting off, but they came in, and we let them minister. Do you know how they all left? Through a text. One of them didn't even text. Been on our leadership team for 2 years. Didn't even text, didn't even call, just quit coming. Don't bother us. I've been in ministry for 25, 26 years. I'm used to people like that dishonor you. They just want a spot. They just want to be loved, but in return, they don't return the love. They're just wanting you to use you. Ministers, let me speak to you. Church leaders, ministry leaders. You got to be strong in God, because people will use you. People are going to hurt you. You got to be okay with it. I mean, Jesus went to the cross and said, Father, forgive them. They don't even know what they're doing. The people that were physically killing him, he came for them, to give his life for them. There's people that I allowed to be on our worship team. People I allowed to speak, and they would do it on a regular basis. Some of them left, never told me. They just left. Some with the text. Hey, God said, I'm not supposed to be here anymore. I didn't question it. If I trust them to hear God to be on our leadership team, if they said God told them to leave, they could leave. Now, I do wish they would have sat down and talked with me. Don't ever leave like that. Every time I have left a ministry, I sit down and talk to the leader, and then I said, hey, my time's up. I know the Lord's called me to do this. Let's talk about it. Then I want to come back in a week after you've processed it. Do you have anything else to say? Let's make sure that when we leave, things are good. And so people were able to process it and come back and talk in a week later, and you leave with honor and character. The reason I say this, every person I'm talking about, they have not entered into the next place good. Like I've had people that left right improperly, and their next church would call me and say, hey, what do you think about this person? I said, oh, they're great. They left properly. When somebody, like recently I had a guy come in and say, the Lord sent me here to take over this ministry with y'all. God called me to sit under you and to help you and to hold your hands up. I said, I can hold my own hands up, and I got a great team around me. Well, God sent me here, this, that, and the other. I'm thinking, if I don't give this guy what he wants, he's lying. God didn't say nothing. He's a liar, and he'll be gone. He was gone in 2 weeks because I wouldn't give him the position. But you know what? He left his last church after 6 months. It don't matter. Listen to me. When people come in and promise you, hey, we have a health coaching business and a thriving business, and every person that comes into our business says, oh, I'm going to be one of your best. I'm going to be one of your top, coaches. I'm going to be that. I said, look, I got 245 great coaches right now. And they're like, oh, I'm going to come in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be that. They'll never amount to anything. And so when you need, the whole reason for this video is this. When you have a need in ministry, there's that open spot. People that are looking for a platform are looking for that spot. And they will come in and tell you, I'm here for you. I love you. I'm covenant, because they're telling you what you want to hear. That's manipulation, because all they want is the spot. They want the microphone. They want to be in charge. Now, let me give you the teaching of the day. Are you ready for the teaching of the day? Okay, here it is. When people say, I left that ministry or church because they were too religious, 99% of the times, it means they were too rebellious and they didn't get what they wanted. Yep, there it is. There's the quote of the day. See, I had a guy tell me the other day, he's like, man, I left this one church because they were too religious. I need to be free to do what God's called me to, and God's called me to, he went into all this stuff God has called him to do. And I'm like, wow, man, that religious church has recently had a long extended revival. Religious churches usually don't have long extended revivals. Now where are you going? Oh, there's no good churches around my region, so I got to go, and I drive 2 hours to church. I said, oh, I know this person, and I know there's what they deal with. They're going to a church that they see their gift on Sunday, but they don't see their life Monday through Saturday because their life's a little sketchy, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So two reasons I'm talking about this. Number one reason is this: if you're a minister and you lead a ministry or a church and you are looking for somebody, a spot, you better watch the one that comes in that looks like a roaring lion, but really they could be a snake. I do this. Somebody came up to our ministry the other day. God called me here, Apostle Joe Joe, to serve you, to be on your leadership team, and there's all this stuff. And I thought, whoa, thank you. I'm so glad God sent somebody like you to our ministry. You were going to be such a benefit to this ministry. Now, here's what I need you to do. I need you to come and set for 90 days and catch the vision of the house. Set? I don't set. I'm a leader. Oh, I know you are, but I got a lot more in there, and they're a lot better leaders than you. I need you to set for 90 days and catch the vision of the house. They never came. They lying. If God would have sent them here, they would have been here. If God really sent them there, they were looking for a position and they had a motive. And the first time you don't stroke their little ego, they will leave you. And when they leave you, listen, don't get your feelings hurt. That's why pastors quit. I see pastors all the time. People hurt me. Of course they hurt you. Hurting people hurt people. I can't tell you, somebody said, how come your church doesn't grow? I said, because I don't welcome everybody in. They're like, you don't welcome everybody in? I'm like, no, I don't welcome everybody in. You know, in every city, there are people known as church splitters, problems, dividers, people who come in with problems. And one lady came in and said, I've been a worship leader in this region for 50 years. And I said, yeah, and you've been in about 80 churches in those 50 years. You ain't touching the microphone here. But if you come here, I will help you. This lady looked at me and said, thank you for finally standing up to this. So somebody finally told me this. Here's what I want to do, if it's okay with you. I said, yeah. She said, I want a microphone, but I'm willing to come for about 5 weeks, and then I want to leave. But I want you to impart into me for 5 weeks. I said, great. We're on the same page. Woman of her word, right there. Woman of her word. We spoke into her life for 5 weeks. Broke some stuff off of her. She says, is there a chance I could be on your team? I said, not a chance. But I'll bless you as you go. And I'll give you a good recommendation because you've shown character that I've never heard spoken of you right now. So she left. She's doing good at the next church she's at. So I hope I'm helping somebody. Now, if you are the person who is always looking for a platform, always looking for, hey, I'll tell you a funny story. I'm rolling today, y'all. I told my wife one day, I said, one day when I travel, this particular person who claims to be prophetic, which goes to a seeker-friendly church and wants nothing to do with the prophetic, will try to come here while I'm gone, and they will come up to the front, and they'll have a prophetic word that God laid on their heart. I said, don't let them speak. Tell them to go sit down. One week, my wife called me after church when I was traveling, and she said, Joe, that person came to church, and they came up emotional. God gave them a word, and she told me exactly what I told them to say. Hey, thank you for visiting. but go back to your home church and release that word. My church doesn't believe in the prophetic. Well, if you're a prophetic person and you're going to a church that doesn't believe in the prophetic, Houston, hello Houston, we got a problem. So when people come in and say stuff to you, pastors, leaders, ministers, you don't have to believe them. You got to have discernment, because they will come in as sheep, but they're really wolves. They're coming in looking like a lion with a gift. But you know what? Hey, some of the best worship leaders in America can't even get put on a platform. You know why? Because they got no character. Some of these preachers and some of the best prophets, spot on prophets I know, cannot even find a place to minister because they have no character. No character. Character is key. That was the dream. When you're needing somebody to fill a position in your ministry, do not get so desperate that you let a snake up there. They will wreak havoc in your church. And you know, I'm a promoter of people. And it's so crazy, but every time somebody comes in and we start promoting them, our core stays the same, but very few people stay with us once they start speaking and singing and getting promoted. Why is that? Because they have some false illusion of what ministry really is, and then they step out, and then they have a crash and burn season, and then they're confused. Okay? Also, understand this. Understand your calling. Understand your gifting. If you try to operate like somebody else, it doesn't work. I got a really good friend of mine who leads a large church. And one day he was like, man, I would love to do what you do. Man, I always see you on Charisma, Elijah List, all these other things on YouTube. I see social media stuff happening. I see you traveling all over. Man, that's awesome. And I'm like, man, I look at your life. You got a huge, thriving church. That looks awesome. Y'all make church look so fun. And he said, yeah, man, your church is small, but you got a core group of leaders that love one another. I would love to have a ministry like yours. And we started laughing. And then, you know, we're just kind of talking back and forth. I love who I am. I love everything about everything that my wife and I do. This guy loves everything about what him and his family are doing. Don't ever get caught up in somebody else's calling. You got to do what God has called you to do. Okay? And don't get so desperate to pull somebody else up prematurely that does not have character. They will destroy your ministry. Love you guys. Have an amazing rest of your life.